Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/post. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free. At ZipRecruiter.com/post. That's ZipRecruiter.com/post. ZipRecruiter.com/post.
It's Jeep 4x4 season. Make your next adventure epic and hurry in now for great deals. Now well-qualified lessees get a low-mileage lease on the 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo 4x4 for $489 a month for 24 months with $3,809 due at signing. Tax, title, license extra. No security deposit required. Call 1-888-925-JEEP for details. Requires dealer contribution at least through Ally Financial. Extra charge for miles over 20,000. Residency restrictions apply. Take delivery by 5/31/23. Jeep is a registered trademark.
Welcome to Two Chunks and a Hunk. My name is Jordan Wonders, and this week I'm your chunk.
I'm Doge, and chunks only live to 50? What's the point of even being born?
And I'm Carter, and open the hunking door.
First Marvel F-bomb, wasn't it?
It was.
Carter, you dropped
coming from old Jimmy Gunn.
Carter, no previews for Oppenheimer, but you just dropped the H-bomb. Would you please tell me why you're the hunk?
I dropped the H-bomb because I get to don the regalia for graduation and sit on a stage for 8 hours.
Ooh,
total.
That's today, right?
So, no.
Yeah.
That's next week.
How stupid
it's not next week.
It's
technically this Friday and Thursday. Thursday and Friday.
So can you imagine if somebody thought it was this week?
Wild.
What an idiot.
I can't even fathom the stupidity of thinking something might be
so
one week
dumb?
and it's a different week.
How could somebody be so
unreal?
dumb?
But I know what is this week, and it is this. It's what's happening right now in your ear holes and out of our mouth.
That's a good segue, man.
I'm full of them. I'm chock full to the brim.
We call that a weird skateboard with handlebars that you stand up on, because that's a segue, my friends.
Call me Paul Blart Mall Cop, because I got that segue. And the other segue I have is this one. The movie we're discussing today is a movie made by Marvel, the cinematic universe one. And this one does go by the name Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the final ride. The one last ride with the Guardians. And I legally cannot discuss this movie until Doge synopsifies me.
This week's IMDb synopsis has no author, which means that it was created by the High Evolutionary to be the perfect synopsis. I said it wrong. I said the first word wrong. Steel reeling from the loss of Gamora.
Lynn?
Yeah.
Liza. Still reeling from the loss of Gamora, Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own. A mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful.
Well. To the point.
That's how it goes.
I could tell that one wasn't Nick because it didn't take me on a journey.
I know. We're going to do the first 10 minutes or so, 15 minutes or so, spoiler free. So if you haven't seen the movie, it's still safe to be here. It will rapidly become unsafe for you after that point, though.
It's true. It gets less safe.
It gets much less safe.
We'll give you ample heads up to get out of here.
Yeah.
If you're just listening to see, should I watch this or should I not or whatever, that's sort of what this first little part's going to be. And I think that's a good place to start, actually. Who's this for? Who is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 for? Let's pretend I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
Let's start. I'm just a regular guy instead of, all of this. I'm just a guy. Should I see this movie? Who's it for? And I think I know.
Pretend I'm just like the partial package. Like I get, like I'm total package. Obviously, like that's clear. If I'm just like a partial package, like a little small parcel, not the total package.
Fit in the mailbox.
Should I see this? If I fit in the mailbox, should I see this?
I'm just a regular guy trying to have it all. Should I watch this movie? So
I'm not here in my ivory podcast tower, living the podcast dream.
I think that this movie is, if you're a Marvel fan, if you like the MCU, I do think that this is not only a don't skip, but maybe one of only a couple don't skips of the last 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say that this, Wakanda Forever, and No Way Home are the only like mandatory viewings so far.
Yeah.
I don't even think we're in the same phase as Wakanda Forever anymore. Are we? We're technically phase 5 now.
Technically, this is the first one of phase 5, I think.
And the reason that's confusing is because phase 4 was nothing. But I think that this one, even though I don't know that it really touches much of the overarching universe,
I think it's
Marvel,
better for it. I think it's better for it.
It was too. Yeah,
for the first time in a long time, this movie feels better siloed than it does touching everything. And I think it's because it was written to be small scale.
Yeah.
I think this is a great one to go see if you're maybe a little bit aware of some of the behind the scenes stuff with James Gunn as well. James Gunn was fired from this movie by Disney a long time ago. And then they said, oops, we shouldn't have did that. And he said, sorry, I'm making a Suicide Squad now. He went and made The Suicide Squad, which is pretty good. Then came back and made this. And this is his last project with Marvel before he goes to be the big boss of DC. So if you're at all curious about what the vibe of those DC movies might be like, or if you're curious about Gunn as a creative, this is a great movie to go see.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think that's a great explanation. I think not since the tonal shift that Thor took once we introduced Ragnarok really has there been, in some ways, a tonal shift, but it's a good one, right? It's like Ragnarok was welcomed. This one was, I'll tell you, like if you're looking to have a crack up fun time like you have in the previous two Guardians, you'll have those moments, my friends, but it feels like a small sliver of the pie. It feels like you'll have it for the sake of relief, for the sake of rest. But
it's funny, isn't it, that Guardians 1, 9 years ago, 8 years and 10 months ago, was the movie that kind of turned the MCU into an action comedy franchise.
Yeah.
And this is one of the least jokey MCU movies of the last, since Guardians 1. I feel like this is the least jokey, which is
this
wild.
One's pretty heavy.
Yeah.
What a kindness. I can't help. I thought of James Gunn often in this viewership. And, it's funny. One of the people that they reached out to and almost signed, except he refused, was Taika. Taika was going to pick up because of that vibe, was going to try and pick up the third one. He said no. He said absolutely not. These are Gunn's films. It was like he said it would be like someone walking in to the house and being like, "Hey, I'm your new dad. This is how we make peanut butter sandwiches now." Basically, it's like you just can't do that. And so
this is how we make peanut butter sandwiches now.
This is how we make peanut butter sandwiches.
I'm your new dad.
James Gunn, for this to be his final installment into the Marvel Universe, he's given them wonderful content. I think it was he could have, not that I would have ever thought like on a blockbuster scale, someone can be lazy, but I think so often when there's so many moving pieces, they're gone, they're back, these things can kind of screw up the ending. And that sucks to say goodbye.
Hollywood's lazy all the time. I think Hollywood's constantly lazy. I think that's the problem. And I think that this is, there's a lot to be said, and I want to be clear. We'll get into it after the spoiler parts. Or when we get into the spoilers, we'll get into it. I have some pretty serious stickles. I will stickle about this movie for sure.
Right.
There's some real stuff that bothered me. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this is an excellent, perfect movie or anything like that. But for what it is, I do think that this is... I will say I don't think I've seen a Marvel movie. If we take Wakanda Forever out of the equation because of the emotional heaviness surrounding it, so I feel like it gets bonus points. So if we take that out of the conversation,
entirely within the script of that movie.
Sure, yeah, 100%. If we take that out of the equation, I don't think I've seen a Marvel movie with this much heart since Endgame, maybe. No.
And here's the thing too: it's not jarring in how different it was because there are so many characters in Guardians. Even Star-Lord, that is there has been heart there, right? We couldn't have just introduced heart all of a sudden into the Guardian series, but it was what a wonderful, like, long, slow breath out it was for me to be like, oh wow, we've actually tied a bow on a branch of a series here. Like the Guardians as a whole, this 3-bit here is wonderful, I think.
Yeah.
You know, I think the first and third might be the strongest of the installments, but
I would argue it is the only trilogy of Marvel movies that is mostly its own complete story that you could watch as a trilogy without really watching the rest of the MCU and still get a pretty complete story. Part one.
Sure, I think you could. Yeah, save for the Gamora Spider-Man stuff. You'd have to kind of know about that. But.
Yes, that's really the only thing.
Do you think you could watch Spider-Man standalone?
I think you could. I think there's enough outside influence in the Spider-Man trilogy to... So much of Spider-Man Homecoming is a response to Avengers 1.
Yeah.
So much of Spider-Man... what's the second one called? No Way Home?
Far From Home.
So much of Far From Home is a direct response to Endgame.
Yeah.
And so much of No Way
Home a little bit.
I was going to say, No Way Home is more of a response to Far From Home, but still really like... And don't get me wrong, the Mark Webb Spider-Man trilogy is...
John Watts.
I'm sorry, Mark Webb.
Mark Webb's amazing
Spider-Man?
Yeah.
Yeah, the John Watts Spider-Man trilogy is really excellent. I would say that is probably the other trilogy worth jumping into for its own watch.
I definitely think it's less standalone, though.
Yeah, man. The Guardians just... You're right, Carter. Other than the Gamora stuff, which I don't think is a spoiler because she's in the trailers.
Sure.
But other than the Gamora stuff, Guardians could be watched as its own thing.
Well, I felt like it was especially notable because of the other trilogy that we've seen close out recently. We just got the third Ant-Man movie a couple of months ago.
Oh, that's right.
And Ant-Man 3 was totally a different movie and different vibe and felt like just a movie featuring Ant-Man rather than a movie that was part of that franchise.
Yeah.
And this is definitely not that. This is definitely Guardians 3.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, was the Ant-Man trilogy the same director the whole way through?
It was. It was Peyton Reed the whole time.
See, that's what's weird. I was about to make an argument that like the commonality here between the Spider-Man and Guardians was that we kept the same director, but it felt like Big Marvel pushed the needle for Ant-Man a little bit in a touch of desperation.
You can make an argument.
And wow, what a waste now with Majors.
I know, man.
For real, dude.
Being such a big part of that.
Not that his absence from the MCU is the worst thing that he did by any means.
No.
But still a bummer. Overall.
Such a huge misstep. Oh, yeah. And now the writers that were working around the clock to fix that are on strike. So who knows what's going to happen, dude?
Yeah, things like the MCU are big effects for that.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't think that this is necessary, but I think we can say that Two Chunks and a Hunk supports writers getting what they deserve.
Pay writers.
Absolutely. Go on strike, baby.
Don't ask ChatGPT to write your movie.
SNL's going on hiatus until the writer's strike is done. So let's go ahead and wrap this up. But let's wrap it up in favor of the writers. I don't blame them. Yeah. I blame you nasty corpos. Get out of here, you dum-dums.
Pay them more.
Pay them more money. They're making all your content anyway. You got nothing without them.
You corpo suits.
Man, do you think AI is going to start to come into this conversation?
That's the point. That's why they're striking, is because some of the demands are like, I know that you think you can outsource our job to ChatGPT, but you cannot.
Oh, really?
No.
Yeah, AI is a huge part of the conversation around the strike.
Get ready. That's going to be a conversation.
See, college students are striking too.
Yeah.
Because we can just write our papers.
You can say anything
just
about
write
college, and I believe you, though.
Yeah, that's true.
that.
I'm so out of the college loop.
You're the king of a college? What are you?
College king. Yeah.
College king.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I thought.
I guess we maybe we would have been better served to say this is the end of the spoiler-free part about 2 minutes ago, and then had a dumb conversation about AI in college.
Yeah, that was the transition.
Give you a chance to walk away.
No,
but instead, we're going to say
we're waiting
now,
for people to naturally turn that off when it stops being interesting.
Yeah, sure. That's what we end the spoiler-free part by just being boring.
Yeah.
No, this is the end of the spoiler-free part, and we're just gonna give you guys about 30 seconds here to get on out of here while we discuss.
I shouldn't have burned all those good college jokes.
I know all those college jokes are done. And if you're, sometimes I listen to podcasts while I take a shower, and if I'm in the shower and I know that the spoiler-free section's about to end, first of all, shame on me for starting a podcast about a movie I haven't seen where I can't get to the pause button. So that is on you a little, but not entirely. We want to be allies to you here as you make your way dripping wet with water to your phone to ruin
After you pause the podcast, put your phone in a bowl of rice.
Yes, put yourself in a bowl of rice even. Dry off before you hit the button. We're now going to talk spoilers. Can I? Is it okay if I super dump?
Yeah.
Dump on them, dude.
Dump it.
Chris Pratt has gotten worse at acting.
Yeah.
I'm being 100% genuine. He is maybe at a career worst in this movie to me. I think that his only good scene in the entire movie is Rocket on the table with about 30 minutes left to go. And that's just because it was a 10. He got to go up to a 10, and I think any actor can go up to a 10 or their version of a 10 and seem pretty good. I think that Chris Pratt, I got Chris Pratt fatigue. This is not a secret. Outside of that, I really think he was very bad in this movie. And I also think he was. Yeah. I'm going to combine super dumps here. I'm sorry. I know it's uncouth, but Jordan, don't do couth. Chris Pratt's acting and Gamora's presence in this movie for no discernible reason are my two super dumps. And I genuinely think that those two things, every time they were focused on, killed the momentum of this movie. Discuss.
I can't say I
disagree. It's just not as, I don't have as strong of a negative opinion. I think Chris Pratt was below his average, and everyone else you start to realize has always been great.
Yes.
In terms of our supporting cast.
100%.
But they all turned it up.
Yes.
They did.
And by the way,
And
not
he
a
kinda
commentary
slowed
on
down,
Zoe
which-
at all. She did fine.
No.
Why is Gamora
Yeah, she was
here?
fine. Because we had to. So I believe we know Zoe is not coming back. This was her final Marvel movie.
Yep.
And if that's the send-off, that's disappointing a little bit.
That's what I'm saying.
But
there's no reason
That's
for her
what
to
we
be
do.
here.
But now, you got to think Feige has this big list on a wall somewhere in one of his office where he's having to, it's called loose ends, and he's having to just check those boxes. It's like, ugh, this was gross. But now we don't have to talk about Gamora anymore. Now we don't have to talk about the partial cocoon time that Adam Warlock had, even though he's been in there for 15 years. My super dump is, unfortunately, I don't think that Warlock needs to be here. I think it felt like doing too much with such an aside, and now he holds the plush toy. Like, he also introduces the plush toy into the mainstream.
Yeah, for
and now
sure.
when you go to Disney World, you can buy this thing, and it's sitting next to the Porg, next to Grogu. And it's like, we don't really need that. That thing is cute. And Disney does it a lot. And when they hit, it takes over the world. So why not just keep throwing stuff against the wall?
Sure.
I like Adam Warlock. I think he was fun. I think, yes, you can say, well, if he's not there, then Rocket doesn't almost die. If he's not there, we don't get to have a closer look at how does the creation feel against its relationship to the creator. But it just wasn't necessary because everything else was carrying the weight of that.
Yeah.
And so for us to have our Sistine Chapel moment when Pratt and Warlock, like, that was so weird. That 30 seconds,
weird. Yeah.
What they did is they basically just shined a spotlight on the part of the stage that wasn't ready yet.
Mm-hmm.
They were just like, oh, shoot, oh my God, we just caught someone who's supposed to be off stage right now. They shouldn't even be, like, those two didn't even feel necessary. The energy that we gave to them when really this felt like very much about Rocket and just people learning to go their own way.
Yeah,
and so that was a bummer because my super pump overall. Doge, do you want to say something first before I pump?
Yeah, I would love to have a turn to talk on the podcast if that's cool, but you can super pump and then I'll go.
My super pump is theme. I think any main theme of this movie was poignant and heavy and great. I loved the theme of our villain was phenomenal, in my opinion. He's great. We pulled him from Peacemaker. Let me get the name. So the High Evolutionary was played by Jaquudi Iwuji. And he was great. But having the High Evolutionary be this person who is obsessed with clearly something that you as a human to some extent, as not a god, obsessed with how things can be better and never even really focusing on like how things can be fine now, like with the anti-theme in terms of like Rocket realizing like, oh, who I am and the things that I didn't have control of are what make me awesome, right? I love all of that. That resonated with me. That was huge.
Yeah.
I really, really enjoyed that. And so that's when anytime we tried to have some kind of diluted piggyback on top of that of Adam being like, oh no, he killed my mom out of nowhere. I can't believe the creator would do this to me. You know, it was just like, bummer. I love you to fight. You know, maybe you don't talk. I don't know, but
sure.
I think Adam Warlock was likely a studio mandate inclusion, the same way that Namor was in Wakanda Forever.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I think probably he's being set up for something in a future Avengers, but he was like, I think, part of Gunn's vision for this movie because the Sovereign were such a huge part of Guardians too. So I really don't have any trouble feeling like he belongs here as part of this movie. I think Will Poulter did awesome. I thought he was super, super funny. Actually, really enjoyed having Adam Warlock in this movie. I think that Gamora, like the fact that we make it a point to show, like I actually really, really love that Gamora and Peter did not end up back in love, back together. That he just, I love that I was afraid he was going to replace his Gamora with this Gamora, who is a different person. And I actually think it was a really, really great moment of character growth for him, like Mantis said, to learn how to swim. I loved that. I thought that was really, really thoughtful and really well done.
I did too.
I think showing Gamora finding a family within the Ravagers, to me, serves to illustrate the broader found family theme of the Guardians franchise. That like, hey, there's nothing that can predict what your found family is going to be. Give every group of people a shot.
Sure.
And
the
like,
Guardians aren't special. They're not the only group that can make you feel like
when
that.
When it clicks, and it's once in a lifetime. It's once in a galaxy that you find these people. And so hold on to them when you find them, but don't selfishly hold on to them. The end of this movie is about let them go when you hold on to them because you prioritize their good over your comfort. So I don't know, man. I don't think that I co-sign at all the fact that I liked that Gamora was in this movie. I liked the stuff with Peter and Gamora. I think Chris Pratt actually did well in the scenes with Gamora. I think he had virtually nothing to do other than kind of like stoically cry into the distance when Gamora was there. And I think he did that just fine. He's the least funny he's ever been. I think to me, that's the Chris Pratt thing is that like when he was first cast in Guardians, he was coming fresh off being Andy in Parks and Rec. And so he was like, not a megastar. As he's transitioned to a megastar, he's become way less comfortable being the funny, goofy guy. And I think you can totally see that here.
I agree. But and by the way, the writing of Star-Lord and Gamora, I just want to be clear, no problems with. Well, I still don't think that Gamora should be here. I think that the rest of the story can do the found family thing without it.
Yeah. I like
because
Gamora
we don't
for
get
the
the
sake
found family
of,
thing until the very last second with Gamora.
Yeah. I like the Gamora for the sake of Star-Lord, like Peter trying to create his own world to a much lesser extent as what the High Evolutionary was trying to do. I was about to say,
I think
of having control over the narrative, right?
Yeah.
And so I did like how those were parallel.
Yeah, that all works for me. It's not a writing issue with Star-Lord as much as it is just Gamora's inclusion for me. But man, Chris Pratt, every scene he was in, that he was a focal point.
Yeah.
Just fell
It's tough because because Rocket's really the protagonist of this movie.
100%.
But Rocket is sidelined for like the first 2/3 of this movie. For acts 1 and 2, Rocket is unconscious on the table. So like, I think I'm just not a fan of the like super flashbacky structure for a movie like this. I have a hard time feeling like that's the best way to spin our story. But I did like this. I think they did a good job with those kinds of like flashback moments, and having this basically equal parts Guardians 3 and Guardians 0 Rocket Raccoon Origins is great. Like I think it worked really well.
I agree. And I think we'll probably have more to say about those flashbacks. I will, at least. But let's go ahead and jump to shout announcements. We'll come back, talk a little more about it. Shout announcements, the part of the show where we give shout outs and also make announcements. This is the one for you guys. And by you guys, I mean us. We stole it from you.
Shout out to us.
We're going to talk on this one instead of what we normally do, which is give you guys a chance to speak. We're going to talk on this shout announcements. Trying something fresh.
It's our turn to have the microphone.
I'm tired of this podcast being all of you talking. It's us now. As we enter into the season globally known as summer, the weather heats up.
50% of the globe.
The concrete heats up. The air heats up. The romance heats up. I don't know. That sounds like we're gonna do Summer of Love.
Oops.
Which we may. I'm not ready to spoil anything, but we do have sort of a fun, interesting announcement ahead of us. We are always in the labs, always in the kitchens, cooking up hot, fresh, delicious ear meals delivered straight into your brains. They're known as podcasts. And as we cook up, as we invent, I would even say, one of the things that we tend to do is take the time to plan so that we know exactly what's coming, and we've got fresh movies waiting for you. And this year, we want to tackle that even harder. And we've come up with sort of some ideas that we want to flesh out and really give the space to breathe. So with that said, for the first time ever, Two Chunks is going bi-weekly.
Dang.
We're going on. It's not summer break, but it's more like, remember when everybody pitched year-round school? And it was like sometimes school, sometimes not school? That's our summer.
Yeah. It's our summer.
So there's so many new releases this summer, and we want to hit all the big boys. And it just kind of happened to work out this calendar.
We realized as we were looking out at our calendar, it basically works out to every other week. There's some new release. So it's things like Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, like obviously Fast X, things like Across the Spider-Verse, even things like Asteroid City and Barbie/Oppenheimer, which is going to be a weird double feature week for us.
Yeah, I wonder if someone's going to bump there. I don't know.
Barbie and Oppenheimer?
Well, I'm saying like if one
They're
of them is
in.
Right. So I guess they couldn't change a release date at this point.
I mean, they could. I don't think
That'd
they
be
are.
silly,
I think they're playing chicken all the way to the finish line.
Yeah.
I'll be seeing both that day. But regardless, it works out to where we've got a new release pretty much every 14 days coming your way from Two Chunks and a Hunk.
Very exciting. And here's the thing, like we talk about it being every other week. Really, you can have us every hour of every day if you join Discord. Shameless plug here.
That's true.
But like we don't ever go away if you just
that's a threat.
pay.
Actually,
we've said that from the beginning. We don't go away if you pay. If you
pay, we don't go away.
Give us your money so that we can be funny, I think is also
that's good too.
That's a good one. We've been talking behind the scenes about some fun stuff that we might want to do to celebrate the release of Fast X, and we'll be announcing that over Discord. Discord is kind of your ticket into some of those things, and we call it your ticket because you're going to be going too fast for the law because of Fast X. So
you're going to need it.
That's just another example of the great creativity from our podcast.
That's the kind of stuff you can expect with a week break in between summer episodes. It's
Don't
that
give us time to
fresh
think of
flavor.
good jokes like that.
You know you want it. So yeah, as we trudge through the melty sneakers against the hot pavement of summer, so that we can come at you so incredibly fresh, it's not even funny. Be ready for it.
So, how does it feel when you play Roll Up to Win with Tim Hortons? Buy a hot or cold beverage using the Tim's app and find out. Roll in the app for a chance to win prizes ranging from free coffee and donuts to a Universal Orlando resort vacation or a sweet car. Oh, don't forget the TV. And this year, every roll is a shot at a $1,000 daily giveaway drawing for 2 $500 prizes. Roll up to win and get treated by Tim's. No purchase necessary. Account registration required. 50 U.S. and D.C. 18 plus entered by 4/2/23. See rules at rolluptowin.com for free entry or full details. Void in Florida and where prohibited.
Can I jump back in with a super dump?
Please.
Yeah.
This is the first, it's usually Tyler Bates who scores these movies, who writes the soundtrack for them. This is the first Guardians movie that he did not work on. Mm-hmm. The composer for this, let me pull up their name, is John Murphy, who James Gunn worked with on the Suicide Squad and I believe Peacemaker. And I think John Murphy's score for this is trying to do way too much. The like instrumental score, the needle drops are as good as they've ever been. Particularly No Sleep Till Brooklyn was really freaking cool. I think the needle drops are as good as they've ever been. I liked
Creep at the beginning.
I liked Creep at the beginning and No Sleep Till Brooklyn and Dog Days Are Over, and the rest of them were, I think, reaching for the same feeling as Guardians 1 and never quite hitting it.
I liked them. But I think the score was really, really tough. We had very little of the score that felt like it was written to the scene. A lot of it felt like temp music that was used in like to say it's going to feel kind of like this, but we're going to write the final one later.
Sure. It
felt really tempy. And then we only got the main Guardians theme, which like the Guardians are notable for being the one character really other than Captain America with a recognizable motif. It's like we have the Avengers theme, the Guardians motif, and the Captain America motif. And one of the highlights of Endgame was when we wove all three of those together and realized, man, it's such a missed opportunity that every character doesn't have some sort of motif. But we only got the Guardians theme here halfway one time when Rocket is flying his ship in the third act. And it just is such a miss to me because that's so recognizable, such a part of the identity of these movies. And to leave it out of the third
Especially
one.
with a farewell movie.
Leave it out of the farewell is like, it reminded me of in Spider-Man 3 whenever we did not rehire Danny Elfman.
Right.
A different composer for Spider-Man 3. And it just like spoke to, it says there the same thing it says here, is that in the pre-production process, there are major behind the scenes problems.
Sure. Mm-hmm. Can we dive into those needle drops a little bit more and like what worked for them, what worked for you about them?
Yeah. I think I just like James Gunn's taste. And I feel like he, another creator who I think does needle drops really, really well is Vince Gilligan. Vince Gilligan, to me, needle drops in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul are simultaneously the least expected and the most appropriate song for that moment. I in a million years, never would have picked that song. I probably, in a million years, probably could have picked Creep for the beginning of this movie, but literally none of the other, like I would never have picked No Sleep Till Brooklyn for like that third act moment. Like, I don't know. I just feel like they all worked really, really well. Some of them worked better than others, sure. But I think that's always been true of Guardians.
None of them stood out as not working for me.
I don't know that every single needle drop's been a 10 out of 10 in Guardians, but I think if there's 5 needle drops, if there's 8 needle drops, I think 4 of them hit like perfectly. And I think that's kind of the standard of Guardians movies.
See, for me, at least, Guardians 1, I think is 100% hit rate. I think that Guardians 1, every needle drop felt right, fit the vibe, even if the vibe that it fit was almost anti-vibe. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like some of the needle drops in Guardians 1, the unexpectedness of the song was the thing that worked.
Yeah.
Something about this, man.
What didn't work?
Did not. Pretty much everything except for Creep, Dog Days Are Over, and No Sleep Till Brooklyn felt like it was just like trying to do the Guardians 1 thing and never quite getting there.
I feel like I had a lot of recency influence here because of the last Chris Pratt movie we did and how it was
How the needle drop sucked.
iconically awful needle dropping in the Mario movie. That I was like, oh yeah, this is how you do it. Yeah. And so none of it really stood out to me as bad. And when it hit so well that I think that kind of clouded the other ones. I kind of liked, so for me, some of the needle drops were not super recognizable songs. And it's not like, I could be at the end of this and it was like, the over a decade ago when Guardians came out. It's like, well, I don't think those were recognizable either. Then Guardians made them resurface and be more recognizable. But I liked the tone overall for the other ones that we had in here.
I think maybe that's what I didn't like was the tone. I don't know. I'm trying to put my finger on it. Like, so many of the needle drops felt like antithetical to what was happening on screen to me in a way that didn't feel like it was intentional juxtaposition for me. But I mean, clearly what we've encountered here is the art of subjectivity. Like, some things work for some people and some things don't. And for me, the needle drops, other than the big three, really left me wanting.
What worked for you in this movie?
Needle drop wise?
No, just in general. Like, let's talk about the things that did work for us.
Yeah, I'll super pump right now. And my super pump is every scene that Rocket is awake for.
Yeah.
Rocket is the best part of this movie.
Are you including flashbacks in that?
Mm-hmm, I am. Yeah. I think the flashbacks, even though I'm not a huge fan of flashback structure, I think that, first of all, Bradley Cooper really delivered here. I have felt recently that Bradley Cooper was kind of phoning in Rocket a little bit, but man, Bradley Cooper showed up in this movie to deliver Rocket's lines with tons of emotion and feeling, and Rocket became so likable and so easy to root for in this movie. Not that he wasn't likable before, but I feel like we watched like a metamorphosis of his character in this movie that made me sad that we might not get Rocket again, or at least not for a while.
I bet we get Rocket's team in Secret Wars.
That would be great, because I think Rocket is an excellent leader for the team, and man, I fell in love with Rocket even more in this movie. His origin story, he was animated so adorably and so I felt so sad for him in ways that I was not anticipating when we started this movie, and his little like family of
experiments.
Yeah, his family of
Carter, talk to me about that.
I can't. Like,
how'd you feel about that, Carter?
It's like Sid from Toy Story, but if he was even more monstrous.
We're going to get deep. And I think I realized literally in therapy, like 3 weeks ago, why things like going to the state fair and not wanting to go into the petting zoo or in the area where all these cute little animals are in cages.
Yeah, for sure.
Bothers me. And it's because when I was 10, there was something that happened in my life that I finally have given myself the grace to just say he did the best he could. It's like I had no control and I was completely innocent and was thrown into a situation that was just really traumatic. Mm-hmm. And so it was animals in cages times 10, dude. Yeah. Floor, teeths, Lila. When little Rocket post brain surgery says hurt.
Yeah,
his
that was
first
tough.
word is hurt.
It was brutal, man.
Big cry. I
bleep
cried
off,
big.
Dude.
Yeah.
Bleep off. I'm like censoring myself here. It is so good. And it was, James Gunn is in his he knows exactly what he's capable of. And I think, so James Gunn is known for pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like and sometimes for the sake of shock, he kind of started as a shock comic.
He did.
Going too far and seeing how you react.
Yeah.
But I do feel like regardless of how cute and traumatic, and I'll never forget how these cute little animals looked and sounded, he didn't do it too much.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
And he could have. Yeah. And that could have just been like, what the heck are you doing? When he gets to do too much, it's like, say, here's how basically pulling Drax out of this organic hole in the sky looks like popping a big zit. It's like, okay, what a James Gunn fun thing to do. Yeah. Incredibly over the top that we're going to go basically inside an anus station and try and get, great. But what he did here was the perfect amount, just enough to make it excruciating. I will probably never see this movie again, and it breaks my heart. I don't know. If I see it, I might skip these parts. It does too much to me.
Yeah.
So that's a long way of saying, how did I feel about it? It wrecked me. It absolutely.
Did you go home and hug your puppy afterwards?
Dude, I wept. It was just like tears were flowing. It's like, okay, cool. We're still going, oh, flashback again. Man, Rocket's not doing so well. And then it was like, then I just noticed like the tension of face changing, weeping, of just like being up, and it just neck, chest, like was just running down.
Splash zone.
It was really hard.
Yeah. I think we unfortunately started our conversation with the only two things I really have anything negative to say about in this movie, because it sounds like I'm way more negative on this than I am. I really enjoyed this movie, and I think everything but what we started talking about really, really works for me. And I think that these scenes with Rocket are where that's what I'm saying. This movie has more heart than most of what has been coming out of the MCU in forever. And I think that the scene with Rocket and his three buddies laying and naming themselves was weirdly beautiful. Like it really touched me. By the way, real quick, just want to say, Wheelrus.
That's very good. Yeah,
Wheelrus is good.
So just wanted to say that. But yeah, man, I think that Rocket going back, rescuing all the baby raccoons, and then blasting what's his face straight in the dome.
The High Evolutionary
was maybe the best vindication feeling in the MCU.
Just seeing the entire Guardians team beat the crap out of the High Evolutionary at the very end, and then ripping off his mask and leaving him alive because it's worse for him to not be perfect than it is for him to die. I don't know. Like, that's a hard PG-13. Like, that effect of him having no face. This is a very hard PG-13.
Yeah, this is maybe the most gruesome Marvel movie.
But all of it feels so, and I guess I'll super pump now, it's so very James Gunn.
Yeah,
like I think James Gunn is my super pump for this movie.
Nice.
Because he is like, and similar to Ryan Coogler with Wakanda Forever, a creator with a auteur vision. He's like, this is my vision. These are my characters.
Yep.
He posted a number of years ago on social media, just a picture of the finished draft of this script. And his caption was "All My Heart." And it was just a picture of like the book closed on Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Yep. And I totally see that. Like, these are his characters. This is his, I just feel such ownership from him over this franchise. And then his ethos as a creator. You can even see it in the Suicide Squad. It's another kind of like found family with a ton of heart, but it's also like shockingly comedic, shockingly dark and violent. Yeah. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I have been a very vocal DC detractor over the course of our podcast, but I honestly don't think there's another creative working in the like big franchise studio space who could do anything interesting with it other than James Gunn.
Yeah,
like I have full confidence in James Gunn.
Guardians 3 will very likely stand alone in my eyes in the grand timeline of things as like the most shared influence on these two universes. Because you were so encouraged that in the midst of something that was just doing strange asides that were trying to connect to something that we didn't even fully see. It was still kind of blurry in terms of the overarching theme of the MCU. And then also understanding the transition of this person who's leaving the MCU for something to, I mean, it's like Hoarders. It's like it's like Gordon Ramsay walking into the kitchen at the beginning of every episode and just being like, what the heck is this? Like, what do we even do? What do we even do? We start over? Do we just bulldoze it all down?
Right.
But to be encouraged, like, bow wrapped here. Oh gosh, here's what Marvel can still be. And here's even some freshness. Because James Gunn is also so fresh.
Incredibly fresh.
You can tell when it's him, but he's also willing to change and do whatever he needs to do. So I'm super encouraged. I think it somehow made me encouraged for two completely different superhero universes.
I know,
and
dude.
that's would have never I wasn't even looking for that walking into this movie. You know?
I really, what I think I've realized is how badly I needed to like this.
Cathartic. It was weird. Yeah.
And how badly I needed it to work. And it really, really does.
It does. It really does. Yeah.
Can we rapid fire? We're kind of running short on time here. Can we rapid fire some stuff that really worked because I genuinely don't have anything negative left to say about the movie.
I do want to shout out because I think a lot of people are going to talk about our trio with Rocket when he was going through the lab.
For sure.
Yeah.
But Lila, the otter, is Linda Cardellini.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's her second Marvel role.
Her second Marvel role.
She's back, dude. Teefs is Asim Chaudhry. He was in Taskmaster, if you've ever watched that.
Mm-hmm.
Really sweet guy. He's also been a character in Sandman. And then Floor was Michaela Hoover. I didn't know her very well from other things. But those three, just want to give them their props here.
Yeah,
They did excellent jobs.
Really excellent.
I think every character's like final landing place after the Guardians split up at the end of this movie, I think was treated with the utmost care. And like I can tell, it's such a like interesting way for James Gunn to send off these characters that he so clearly loves so much and put them in the hardest possible positions for Marvel to make a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 without him.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was very much a like, hey, these are my toys and I'm going to put them where you can't reach, but they're still there. You can still see them. You just can't touch them.
Yep.
And I thought it was so thoughtful. Like every single person, Drax coming full circle to like, you only became a Drax the Destroyer because Thanos killed your family. This is not who you are. You're built to be a dad. Like I just thought it was everything was so thoughtful.
Yep.
Yeah. So thoughtful. Loved. Go ahead.
Well, I think Mantis is one of the hardest characters to make work. And she worked so well.
She was great. She was one of the
gag
best.
Of her falling on her face and her legs scorpioning over the back of her head was so funny to me.
Yes, it happened so many times.
She was one of the best. She might have been my favorite of the crew. I think she was
great.
Awesome. And what a fun way to like, because we know we can't help but think of, especially in big studio anthologies like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, of all the real people that are involved in this. It's like Bautista has wanted to be out for a while and he's out, but he's honoring James Gunn. And so he wanted to make this last one. So he's out. We know Zoe's out. So those people are going to be pretty impossible to come back. It feels like we got a look at the Guardians, and this was without Mantis, right? When we had our extra credit scene with Adam Warlock and Groot.
Oh yeah, because Mantis
Cosmo.
Yeah, Mantis just left.
Yeah,
with the big.
So is she not ever coming back into the MCU?
I don't think so.
Is Palm okay?
No, she's super loyal to James Gunn. I bet she's in DC stuff.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, good for her. She was awesome.
I think
what
that
a send off.
Cosmo was really funny. The good dog,
Cosmo
bad dog bit was
wonderful.
hilarious. I thought that the way that they made Cosmo hold the ships together and like the effort on the dog's face was really impressive that they were able to pull off. I don't know how they did it. I don't know if they green screened out something that the dog was tug of warring with somebody, or if that was all CG.
I think the dog was completely CGI.
That was a CG dog. That was not a real dog.
It's really impressive.
Yeah.
It's super impressive. The hallway fight to No Sleep Till Brooklyn was fantastic.
Yeah. I thought that would be a super pump from somebody.
It
was so good.
It was really cool. I
can't
get past the Rocket of it all. That's the thing that I'm going to think of when I think of this movie is Rocket specifically.
Yeah. Our even though he was completely awful, the High Evolutionaries, Goonies, like creatures that are the fighting ones,
Hellspawn
are fun.
Yeah.
The Hellspawn are fun to watch. Still felt sorry for them. War Pig was Judy Greer.
I was just about to say that.
Do you guys get Rocksteady and Bebop vibes from
big time? That's Judy Greer's second Marvel role as well. She's Scott's ex-wife in the first two Ant-Man movies.
Oh, dude. Crazy.
Back before those were trailers for the next Avengers movie when they were actually about Ant-Man and his supporting cast.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's funny. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I thought that everything on Counter-Earth was awesome.
Star-Lord straight up murdered Mateo from Superstore by jumping out of a spaceship and landing on top of him.
Yeah, it was pretty nuts.
That was wild. That felt like James Gunn. That and Star-Lord dropping the MCU's first F-bomb.
Yeah.
Felt like James Gunn being like, listen, I can do whatever I want. Mm-hmm. Star-Lord's whole like, when he's like, you're going to kill us both. And Star-Lord goes, not both. And just lands on top. That was wild. I was super not expecting that.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I thought that the Counter-Earth thing was a really unique way to show a destruction of Earth without it having to affect the rest of the MCU. And I also thought that all I could think was, what a weird flip of meeting aliens, that the normal people are the aliens that the people on this counter Earth can't understand. Like, do you know what I mean? It felt very flipped on its head, which was fun. And I don't know how intentional that feeling was, but it worked for me. And I also, the part where Star-Lord jumps in the driver's seat of the car, and then it's like, I left Earth when I was 8. Why would I know how to do this?
Yeah,
it was pretty fun.
I have no idea what
it was a pretty good, pretty good line.
Groot was cool. Like, it's not even adolescent Groot. It's like whey Groot, whey protein Groot.
Like I just have to say, he was
Kaiju Groot,
beef Groot.
Going Kaiju was awesome.
He hate that he said anything other than I am Groot. Absolutely,
I don't think he did. I think that was the audience. Like, I really don't think that was him saying. I think in the fiction of the world, he said, I am Groot, but the audience understood him. 100% I do not believe.
Oh, now we're family. I like that. I hope that's it.
That would explain why nobody reaction, but I didn't care for that.
That's why nobody reacts. I think that's the audience understanding Groot for the first and final time.
Sure.
Kaiju Groot was so fun.
Groot was great.
Just full kaiju.
Yep.
Just a blast.
Yep. Loved Groot. Obviously, we love Vin as a podcast, so of course we're going to say we love Groot.
Yeah.
It still is so weird to like see his face in the credits. Like to see like when you look at IMDb, it's like, Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel.
That's him.
Vin Diesel's in this. Yeah, I forgot.
He's definitely a family guy.
Yeah.
He's a part of this. He's not lazy. I don't think anybody thinks they work harder than Vin Diesel, but he gets to go on all of this stuff. Media junkets.
Yeah.
He's on the panel at Comic-Con.
Yeah.
What an easy page.
Yeah, dude.
How fun is that? We haven't talked about Sly. Stallone is here. He doesn't necessarily need to be.
Nah.
It definitely feels like it was a one shoot, and they called it improv. Maybe he called it improv, but he just forgot some of his lines and how to really deliver them. It was bizarre.
It's weird to have Stallone here. Yeah.
It was bizarre, but it's okay.
What is the artist
We're going to randomly...
The Xenomorph is based off of his works? What's his name?
H.R.
Geiger.
Yeah. The Geigerness of some of the body horror in this movie, and like the anus space station and all that stuff, was maybe some of the best Cronenbergian H.R. Geiger type visualize. Hey, what's wrong with me?
I don't know, man.
Hey, real quick, what's wrong with me? Some of the best visuals of that type of aesthetic that maybe I've ever seen. It was super disturbing to look at. Like Nathan Fillion's character's armor was gross.
God, I love Nathan Fillion.
I did too. He's great.
Nebula just kind of like pulling herself back together so many times was hard to watch.
Yep.
But cool. You know, especially since she's doing that too. It felt very T-1000.
Yeah.
When we had our hallway fight scene, but she feels so very capable. Mm-hmm. I love the gun arm upgrade from Rocket.
Yeah, like it's probably the most I've ever liked Nebula too, I think.
I think so too. They told the story so well that I was not disappointed that like really nobody died.
Because people changed. Like, it's because people changed.
Yep. It's just because people changed, and that was fine. So that was great.
Star-Lord,
we still said goodbye.
Star-Lord almost dying sucked.
That was not needed.
It was not necessary. And the other thing is, I mean, I'm not crazy, right? Nothing has happened to Star-Lord's helmet or his
why did he
boots,
not use it?
Right?
For the first time in Marvel history, they're unwilling to put a helmet on somebody.
Yeah, like
how did you feel about knowing that he'd be back?
I don't know. I think he's.
I don't either.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That final post-credit scene, like because there's two. The final one of him reading the newspaper with his grandpa was pretty unnecessary to me. I'm not exactly sure why we did that. Other than the Kevin Bacon joke from the Christmas special on the front page of the newspaper. But
more than almost any other post-credit scene, this one felt like, or more than almost any other, like this character will return. This felt like Chris Pratt will return. More
it felt
than
like
it felt
a threat.
Like Star-Lord will return.
Yeah.
Yep. I loved that it was just really chewy. that we were just listening to him eat cereal. That was fun.
I know you love that.
I
know
that
you
was
love
for
that.
you.
Just the sound of cereal.
Between the sad animals and the mouth noises, this is like a movie for Carter Willis.
This is Carter Willis. It is time
Let's
to
talk about
rate.
that first. Can we talk about that first post-credit scene first? With
Sure.
Rocket's new team. That girl is Phyla Vell. She's pretty different than her comic counterpart, but I'm not exactly sure what you need to know about Phyla Vell. Just she's a named character, and she'll probably, I think that team will be back in Secret Wars. Rocket leading a team of Guardians against a stampede of animals felt weirdly so counter to the theme and the vibe of this movie.
Super weird.
Yeah.
Let's go slaughter these space deer felt totally insane after the movie we just watched.
I was waiting for what the threat was going to be behind the stampede.
Yes.
And to find out that that's what they were fighting. And then,
or to just see Groot go make a big wall and just divert the herd away from the city or something like that.
No, that was strange.
That was wild. That was really
Didn't
weird.
think we were going to gear up to kill him.
Yeah.
Kind of tone deaf weirdly at the end of this movie.
I agree.
Calling himself Rocket Raccoon was huge.
Yeah.
That.
Yep.
Finally realizing that is in fact what he was
he
better
is
than
a raccoon. Yeah.
him saying it to me. Like him seeing the word raccoon on the thing. Everybody constantly referring to him as a badger or
a squirrel or a hedgehog.
Squirrel. Yeah, that was all pretty funny. And then also the one thing that worked about Gamora for me besides, general theme, I suppose, was constantly calling Star-Lord Quinn. That bit was great.
See, I thought she was calling him the right name, but that's just my. That's
your
my
thing.
issue.
Yeah, sure.
That's what you do.
That's my thing.
Because you're Carter from the past. No memory of our time together.
This old star guy, Patrick Quinn. He's a great addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It is time to rate this movie using science. The scientific cinema scale is perfect and as follows. The best thing we could ever say about a movie is own it. Don't lend it. Buy that poster. The next best thing is buy it. That's followed by rent it and then stream it. After that is forget it. And last but certainly least, the worst thing we could ever say about a movie. God hath forsaken us.
I buy Guardians. Hi buy. Just for everything that we've said. I think it was wonderful. It's weird to say goodbye to James Gunn in this universe and hello to him in another. Mm-hmm. I'm really interested to see what kind of influence they're giving him. It felt like he's got the keys, to be honest. Mm-hmm. And it feels like that'll be a good move. So I thought overall it was really wonderful. It's really hard to watch, but a lot of really good movies are.
Yeah, it's true. I'm also going to buy Guardians Volume 3, and it's super close to a poster, actually. I just, the ethos of this movie, the James Gunn that you can see if you read between the lines is just, I don't know, it's just really, really appealing to me. I love it. I love the place where James Gunn's career is right now and where it's taking him, and like his story through Hollywood is really, really interesting and cool. And it's clear how much he loves and cares for these characters. And so this was just a rare Marvel movie that felt like it was made by one person and not a corporation.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. It was the least corporate Marvel movie in a long time. I think that's what I'm getting at when I talk about the heart that this movie has.
Sure. Because very little of it felt like a trailer for the next Avengers. In this, especially
none of it
the
to me.
The contrast of Ant-Man and the Wasp to this is just insane to me.
For sure. I'm waffling here. I'm gonna be true to myself. This is a high rent for me. I really, really liked this. I'm surprised by how much I liked this, and most of this movie works so well for me. I think that the real world context makes this movie better, and I think that it's a good movie on its own. But I think that the real world context for what's going on here makes this movie better. But that isn't quite enough to bump me personally up to a buy. But please don't hear me say that this is not the best Marvel movie in a long time.
Yeah.
Because it for sure is.
Love it.
So that's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Great movie. Glad we watched it. I was hesitant going in yesterday. So
I was pretty nervous that I wasn't going to like it.
Next week, we are off on the main schedule, doing that every other week. Beautiful beautiful summer. And the next time we hit you, Doge, what's that going to be?
It's obviously going to be Fast X, so fasten your seatbelts because it's coming.
Finale part 1.
Fast
the end of
10
the road
part
begins.
1. Not Fast 11 next. Fast
Ride
10
or
part
die.
2. Yeah, that's going to be.
It looks so stupid.
Yeah, aggressively
in such a good way.
Cannot wait.
Yeah,
literally cannot.
Bring it on.
So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Stay tuned for Fast X, the next movie on our podcast.
And to end today's episode, I think what I'd like for each of us to do is to say our name and which animal friend from this movie we would just like to have with us. Which one would we adopt? Don't shop, you know?
Oh, make me sad.
For 2 chunks and a hunk, I'm Jordan. I'm taking Lila. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm taking Lila with me. I like otters. Otters are cute. A talking otter with robo arms can hang out in my house any day of the week. I'm taking Lila.
Any day, y'all.
I'm Doge, and I am adopting Cosmo the space dog.
Yeah, good call.
I love her. She's such a good girl.
She is such a good girl. I'm Carter, and I need to have Floor. I need to.
I knew it was going to be Floor.
Protect Floor at all costs. Oh my God. I can't even think. I was having to sit there and be like, it's not real. This is not. Hey, it's not real, dude. It's not real. It's okay.
I do want to make sure we give love to Teefs, who I really thoroughly enjoyed.
I love Teefs.
My only reason for
Teefs
not taking
great.
Teefs is I don't have the space in my house.
I got stairs.
I don't
think Teefs could go up and down them.
Yeah.
Also, the name
I don't have
Teefs.
enough eye moisturizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, were his eyelids gone?
They were
Propped open like Clockwork Orange style?
Yeah.
Yuck.
But they were robotic. He could still blink, but
He could.
The eyelid was robotic. Yeah.
That's better,
Yep.
I guess. Teefs, man. What a great name. What a great fellow.
What a great movie. What a great podcast. What great friends
What
we
great
are.
friends. Bye. Teef.
So, how does it feel when you play Roll Up to Win with Tim Hortons? Buy a hot or cold beverage using the Tim's app and find out. Roll in the app for a chance to win prizes ranging from free coffee and donuts to a Universal Orlando resort vacation or a sweet car. Oh, don't forget the TV. And this year, every roll is a shot at a $1,000 daily giveaway drawing for 2 $500 prizes. Roll up to win and get treated by Tim's. No purchase necessary. Account registration required. 50 U.S. and D.C. 18 plus entered by 4/2/23. See rules at rolluptowin.com for free entry or full details. Void in Florida and where prohibited.